Hey there, people. It's Lucas Johnson. Back with, I figured it out. The channel name is actually No Bullshit, not No Bullshit Philosophy. Um, so, that's one step in the right direction. To know the name of your channel. It's a good thing to know. Especially if you own the darn good thing. So, today I'm gonna talk about, and it's gonna be brief, and it's off the cuff, and it's 10:15 at night, and I still have stuff to do, but I got nothing better to do. Just contradicting myself. I have stuff to do, but I'm bored, so I'm gonna record a video real quick. But it's off the cuff, so it's gonna end when I run out of things to say, which will probably be very soon. But this video, which I had inspiration to do at 10:15 at night, partially because I'm crazy, but partially because something happened at school. Nothing big, nothing catastrophic, but a person who I would call a friend said something that kind of set me off. Not set me off, but kind of threw up a couple red flags in my mind, especially seeing as they're not Christian. They're not a very morally righteous person by any standards. This sounds judgy. It is judgy. But they're not a very morally upright person. Neither am I, but I try to be. I fail, but I try to be. So, today I'm going to talk about the attitude towards which, or the attitudes that high schoolers have adopted towards fornication, concupiscence, pornography, masturbation, just sexual actions as minors. Now, I will say, right off the bat, I'm a Catholic, which I'm pretty sure I said in the last video. So, I don't believe in sex before marriage. I believe, the exclusivity of marriage. I don't believe in contraception. I believe the use of contraception is morally reprehensible. I don't believe in abortion. Similar but different. Or I should say different but similar. I don't believe in divorce. I think it's immoral except under certain situations. There are certain situations where it is justified. But for the most part, it goes against the natural law. What else do I believe? Contraception. I don't believe in homosexual marriage. That one's really gonna piss people off. Especially if anybody at my school ever, figures out that I've got a channel. Disclaimer. I'm not, just to elaborate on that point before I go farther, because that's going to get me in trouble. I am not against homosexuals. I'm not. I don't believe in the idea of homosexual marriage. I don't recognize homosexual unions. What's the right choice of words there? So I don't support homosexual unions, but I do support homosexuals. Catechism of the Catholic Church does say that we are to treat them with respect and dignity, seeing as they are children of God. But homosexual acts cannot be condoned under any circumstances. So, there's my opinion on homosexual marriage. Yeah, that's really going to get people pissed off. If anybody watches these, nobody's really going to watch these, but if anybody does, pissed off. Anyway, on the attitude of high schoolers as it relates to sexual misconduct, or really sexual conduct. Um, Let me start by saying the sexual embrace is not in and of itself wrong. In fact, it in and of itself is very good. It has two purposes. Babies and bonding, as it's commonly referred to as, but the purpose of the sexual embrace, sexual intercourse, is to procreate, to create a child, and to make the couple more unified, physically, spiritually. But when you violate either one of those two purposes, you violate the very nature of the sexual embrace. And to the best of my understanding, when you take something that is sacred and holy in and of itself and violate its nature, its very nature, you don't want to taste it. I'm treading on thin ice here, and I could be wrong because I'm not well catechized. But I do want to say that when you take something that is sacred and holy and violate the very nature of that thing, then it ceases in its sacredness and its holiness, its sanctity and holiness. I could be wrong. I very well could be. But that's what I understand. So, for instance, when you use contraception, artificial contraception, to take away the baby's aspect of the sexual embrace, you violate the nature of it. In vitro fertilization, it creates a baby, but you violate the very nature of the sexual embrace because you destroy the aspect of the unity of the couple. Now, people may ask, and rightly so, well, how is it that fornication destroys the very nature of the sexual embrace? I cannot give a good answer to this. I can't. Off the cuff, to the best of my finite knowledge, fornication violates the very nature of the sexual embrace because the nature of the sexual embrace is something that's very serious and not to be taken lightly. And fornication, and it's also, when it comes to the unity of the couple, with something as serious as the sexual embrace, it needs to be for a serious couple that is committed for life until death do them part. Fornication, which is sex outside of marriage, or at least when you're not married, destroys the unity. No, it doesn't destroy the unity. You're using it lightly, and you're not taking it as seriously as it should be taken, because you are using it as almost a plaything, something that you use. Inside of a marriage, it's beautiful, because babies and bonding, when you're married, you are in a, now, not necessarily all the time, but the most stable place for a child is in a married couple, alright, and not a broken home where divorce has occurred. But when you have a husband and a wife that love each other, I do not have the statistics off the top of my head or anywhere. I can find them, but I'm probably not. You can look it up yourself if it becomes popular, which it won't, because it's not. I will find the statistics. But children that are born to a married couple that love each other and that stay together, statistically turn out the best. Lower rate of incarceration, lower mortality rates. Is it lower or higher? They don't die quite as young, quite as often, and other things like that. Again, I don't have the statistics on me. I will find them. But so when you're not in a serious relationship, and you don't violate the nature by use of artificial contraception, you're not in a place to foster a child because your relationship isn't strong enough to support that child. You know, sometimes your love is so strong that 9 months later you have to give it a name. Well, if your love is something like I'm not gonna list names. I pray that I will never list names when giving an example. But this person is kind of in and out of relationships constantly. And each of those relationships, this person regularly engages in sexual intercourse to the and it's touted too, which annoys me. But anyway, those are not strong relationships. If you had a child come forth from those relationships, they wouldn't be, this person wouldn't be able to support a child. And seeing as this person isn't in a strong relationship with really anyone, that child isn't going to get cared for. Well, I don't want to say that because that's immature of me to say. But that couple is not in a place to have a child. And if you look at unity, which is the other aspect of the nature of sex, I'm saying a lot. I'm realizing that. So I'll just switch to that'll be better. With the unity aspect, you cannot engage in sexual intercourse with someone, no matter how casual we say it is, and not have a bond between you two, a special bond. You can deny it all you want, but when you engage in something as serious as sex with someone who's not as serious a partner as is not implied but needed under marriage, or at least a strong marriage, when that person breaks off from you romantically and goes to someone else, you're going to feel betrayed. Doesn't matter if it's mutual. If you gave them something that powerful and that serious and that important, and then later on they move on and do the same thing to someone else, there's no unity. You're not unified. You're split off. It's the opposite of unity. So, fornication and adultery, I should have included adultery in the first place, but more so fornication because I'm talking about high schoolers. Nobody's married at high school age. Kids are having kids, which is unfortunate, but anyway, there I go with again. When you engage in fornication as a minor, as a child, you're violating the very nature of the sexual embrace because you're not in a position to procreate. At least not adequately. So yes, you're fully capable of procreation. At least most people are at high school age. But you're not in a position to support the child that you create as a result of you engaging in something as powerful as sexual intercourse. And you violate the unity aspect of the sexual embrace because you are not, the vast majority of cases, you're not in a strong, serious relationship with these people that you're with. You're simply engaging in sexual intercourse for, from my understanding, a few reasons. One, to strengthen your relationship, which I think, while has some validity to it and goes closer to the idea of unity, it's misguided. And the idea that it's for pleasure, which, important note here, if you're engaging in sexual intercourse because it's pleasureful, you are absolutely violating the idea of unity. Because if that's the case, you're simply using the other person as a means of pleasure. But strengthening a relationship, it's misguided because you have the order of things mixed up. Sexual intercourse doesn't strengthen a relationship. If it's not ready, it rocks you. Now, granted, you form a bond with this person, but if it's in the wrong order, then your relationship with this person is shattered. Utterly. Whether it's obvious or not, your relationship is altered in a way that is unhealthy. I was going to say something else. Alright, so there's my take on fornication, adultery. I apologize if I left holes. Nobody's going to watch this. I don't really care. But again, I apologize if I left holes. Now let's look at pornography and masturbation. Because, let me tell you, as a high school age Catholic boy who doesn't engage in pornography and masturbation, it's quite appalling, the widespread use and engagement in these sort of behaviors and forms of entertainment. But why are they wrong? Alright. And I mean, after you get why is it wrong, it should be obvious as to why you should engage in it. But that's a whole other argument, and that's kind of less and more deep at the same time. So I'm not going to delve into that. But we're just going to try to figure out if it's wrong. Pornography. Now, from a spiritual sense and from a realistic sense, which there is absolutely overlap. Black coffee. Delicious. Yeah, no. If your coffee order takes more than 15 seconds to repeat, you're part of the problem. Just remember that. Knowledge. But anyway, where was I? Pornography. Why is it wrong? Well, spiritual and realistic sense. Let's look at the spiritual first, because that's going to be a little easier for me. It breeds concupiscence. It breeds lust. Now, to engage in it takes a sort of lust, and it takes concupiscence to engage in it and to be fully, not engaged, but participating in it. But the thing is that after you engage in it, it only multiplies. Not, not even multiplies is the wrong word. It what's the word with the little number over it? Oh, I like math. I should know this. Exponentially, it increases your lust, concupiscence, feelings of lust and concupiscence. It takes it and multiplies it. It raises it exponentially. And it's upsetting. It's upsetting to see kids that do this. They can't look at anyone the same way. I've been walking with kids to classes, and I've been walking with boys my age. This is gonna sound like it's on a high horse. If it is, I apologize. And at the same time, I don't, because I know I'm right. That really is up on a high horse, so that I apologize for. But anyway, I've been walking down hallways with boys that are my age, right? And there are women in my school that there are young women in my school that deserve respect because of how they conduct themselves, what they do, how they treat others. And it's upsetting to see that when I'm walking down with these people, and these young women walk in front of us, or even behind us, or just around us, or they're on our minds, it's a tragedy that the first thing that comes to mind with these boys is how they could use them for their own advantage sexually. It's sad. It's sad. You can't look at people the same way. I think I already said that a million times, so that's one more time. Where was I going with that? I was going somewhere, I know that. But this is bad. Like I said, off the cuff. It'll probably end soon, because I'm gonna, not have any more words to say. I'm just gonna tie myself in a nice little knot. Not a nice little knot. But, anyway, these respectable young women, and all they can think of is sex. So, it not, like I said, it makes you look at things from a different perspective. And not a good one at that, not a realistic one, because, let me tell you, no, I'm not going to go into reality, I want to finish up spirituality, but it breeds concupiscence, lust. You can't look at people the same way. Your opinions of right and wrong are altered in a very significant manner from what I've seen. It's unfortunate. I've seen young men who stay away from that sort of stuff, and then they're introduced to it, and they go down a path, and you can see them change. Not only lust, concupiscence, those kinds of feelings, but as I said, their moral compass degrades substantially. They not only lose the ability to clearly define right and wrong sexually in any manner. I cannot explain it. I can't. But my best guess would be that when you cannot look at people without asking yourself, what can they do for me? What can I get out of them to please myself? Then I would imagine that your sense of right and wrong in relation to other people is shattered. Utterly. Sad to watch. So sad. I've seen, and here's something else too. I've seen young men that are not desperate. They're very bright people that they're fun to be around. They're good men. And then they fall to this kind of thing. And lust, concupiscence, moral compass is gone, and they get desperate. And they lead themselves down a road of madness. It sounds stupid and made up, but it's weird. When you're used to seeing other people do things sexually and form these bonds which are formed, very nature of sex, babies and bonding. But when you see these people make these bonds, my best guess would be that you seek it for yourself, because in the end, human beings do seek to be happy. Now, the purpose of life isn't to seek pleasure, but being a Catholic, I believe that the purpose of life is to go to heaven. Why do you want to go to heaven? Because it's ultimate happiness. People do things because they believe that it will make them happy. The difference between an atheist and a theist, broad generalization, is that a theist believes that ultimate happiness will take place outside this world, and an atheist believes that happiness can be achieved, or at least it's foolish to believe that it's not going to be attained on this earth. But anyway, these people get desperate because they're used to seeing these other people form these bonds, and they don't have anyone themselves. I mean, holy shit. They go down real fast, real hard. Sad to watch. It's terrible. But in the end, all I can do is pray for him. That's all I can do. But now let's look at a realistic sense. You, from what I understand, speaking out my ass, I admit it. First off, take it with a grain of salt. But from what I understand, when you engage in pornography and masturbation, and the last one, I know it was just about pornography, just lump masturbation into it as well, because the same things apply. But, I will add, though, before I move on, if we're going to add masturbation to the last tangent, you have to understand that not only do you look at others differently, you look at yourself differently. And you can't respect your own body. And you can't respect your own self, even if it's not simply your body. You cannot respect yourself. You can't. Anyway, for the realistic aspect, you get used to releasing dopamine. Dopamine is your feel-good chemical. Eventually you get hooked. You get addicted. And it gets to a point where you need to engage in more and 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 more to get the same dopamine rush. And eventually you max out. You build up a tolerance, if I'm correct. I don't know if you can, speaking out my ass. But you have to understand that that's not good for you. You get addicted to dopamine. It's like a drug. It is a drug. It's just released by your mind, your body, your brain, whatever it is. Same difference. What else? I know there's another thing that I wanted to talk about. A, you release dopamine. B, damn it, what was it? I don't know. There was something else about reality and how that pornography and masturbation just destroy you. And now that's in everyone, especially about high schoolers. High schoolers are underdeveloped. They are raging with hormones. They're dramatic. They can't form relationships that are strong, or at least they're very hard to come by strong relationships. Often they're rattled by drama, and not a lot of it either. So they're not good at forming relationships. They're underdeveloped, and they don't have a clear sense of right and wrong as it is. when you're a child or a minor, your idea of right and wrong has to be kind of not altered, but it has to be guided, right? So until you're fully developed, which high schoolers are not, your idea of right and wrong is dictated by what you see, what you hear, what you experience, what you read, things like that. So as I said before, from what I've seen, when you engage in pornography, masturbation, lust, concupiscence, all that sort of things, fornication, you cannot view yourself the same way, you can't view other people the same way, and your moral compass, all of it is degraded drastically and in a very negative manner. Very, like, it's not a joke. But I'm sure there will be people who take it as a joke. Of course, I'd be the kind of person that trolls people and laugh at them for, stupid things, and I'm sure there's a lot to laugh at in this video. Whole lot of stupid stuff, I'm sure of it. But, anyway, when you're a child and your moral compass is degraded drastically, where do you think that puts you the rest of your life? If you are coming into the world, and it's not even that your moral compass is neutral, it's that it's degraded in a negative manner and drastically because you're underdeveloped, which means that any effects that you get are more damaging and impacting to you than it would be an adult who's fully formed, even if they didn't have a fully formed moral compass or a fully straight moral compass. It's going to be life-shattering. So, I don't agree with fornication, masturbation, pornography, adultery, concupiscence, because I'm a Catholic, and because it's right. Not right. You have to understand that it's simply and utterly damaging and destructive. So, I don't know if you'll ever see this. I don't know if you're going to know who you are. But this person that I talked about at the beginning of the video, if you know it's you, which you may very well, I'm praying for you. I love you. I want the best for you. But the way you're going isn't going to lead you to happiness. You're only going to find more heartbreak and despair, as you found already. And that's a message to everyone. Alright. Sounds goofy, and I know it's been repeated, but God does love you. I think the line goes, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. You are loved. You are cherished. And even if it's not by people, there is someone who loves and cherishes you greater than you could know. So, I guess that's my take on the attitude that high schoolers have adopted towards sex. So, Lucas Johnson, signing out. Have a good one, folks. Happy Thanksgiving. God bless.